I want to talk to you about something that will help you after school. And if you are someone who has already finished school and you are struggling, then you need to also come closer and pay good attention to what I am going to say now. You see, the journey of your career starts from being able to identify companies that practice what you studied in school. That's the baseline. And the reason it's a baseline is because you need that experience or industry experience to be able to even make progress in some form of consulting jobs. Like you want to create a consulting company, you may still be required to present some level of experience to be able to convince your intending client, to be able to convince people to pay you and to showcase that you're an expert. And that's why you need to pay attention to being able to identify or make efforts to be able to identify the companies that practice what you claim to be studying or what you are studying in school. There are a number of layers on which you can do this. The first one is on the global stage, and I'll tell you the benefits. The second one is on a national level, and then of course the other one is on the local or regional level, where you say kind of within my city, which companies are practicing this thing, or within my country, how many companies are practicing this. On a global stage, what are the 10 top companies practicing what I am studying in school? There are a number of reasons why you need to identify these companies. One is, by the time you focus on identifying the companies, you will indirectly be able to identify the people who work in the companies. You know this story of, I don't have an uncle that's working in the place where I want to work, and because of that, I don't have any good knowledge of what is going on there. There are quite a number of people who have that challenge, but if you focus on identifying the companies that practice what you are doing, you will be able to also see the people who work in those companies. If you can't find them on the websites of the companies, then go to LinkedIn. Some of them, you see their names on the website, track them on LinkedIn, see who they are, and then reach out to them. When you reach out to them, don't just become their friends and leave. Become their friends on LinkedIn and ask them questions. How did you get into this company? Some wouldn't answer, but if you send out those messages to 10 persons, at least 2 would respond. And you just needed those few experiences to be able to prepare yourself for the future that you deserve in the company. Ask them questions. How did they get in? What does the company require? What are they looking out for in the people they hire? What kind of people do they hire? Do they hire people with technical skills? Do they value soft skills? Do they, if they value soft skills, do they kind of do an aptitude test? Do they have to like do a career day? How do they hire people? Understand these things ahead of time and then start working towards it. If they do aptitude tests, get to understand the nature of the aptitude test and start practicing them. Don't wait until you graduate. And if you have graduated without doing this, please go back and start doing this even today. I don't mean go back to school, of course, but go back and start the process. The other thing is this: when you start identifying the companies that practice what you are studying, then you know the direction that your profession is going. You identify the career path that is, or the career path options that you have, and then you also identify where your industry is going. If you follow the top 10 companies in oil and gas today, you will realize that many of them, or all of them, are beginning to shift gradually towards renewable energy. And what does that tell you? It gives you an idea of, well, the companies are not saying that oil and gas is coming to an end, but they are already beginning to take a step into the next phase. And what is required to be able to get into that next phase, you begin to prepare for it. So even if you come in as an oil and gas engineer, for instance, you already can see where the industry is going, and you can begin to plan and begin to take courses or maybe take an additional degree or in that kind of area. So your bachelor's is in oil and gas engineering. You may not necessarily need to go take a master's in oil and gas engineering, depending, of course. I'm doing a PhD in oil and gas, in an aspect of oil and gas engineering. So I'm not trying to discourage you from taking oil and gas courses, but you may want to look at it and say, well, I already have a master's. If I am going for a second master's, I wouldn't go for a second master's in production when I already have one in drilling. I could go for a second master's in renewable energy or energy sustainability because the key industries in my field are already taking a step towards that direction. This is just oil and gas. You know what your field is. But when you identify the companies in your field, you'll be able to know where they are heading to and why they are heading in that direction and try to do what? To follow them. It also gives you an idea for those who are looking for scholarships, an idea of where the money will be going to in your field. Should I do something for the oil and gas people again? Well, maybe a separate video for that. But if you know where your industry, where the industries are going to, that's often where the research funding will be going to. And once you're able to identify where the research funding is going to, you are a step closer to winning a research funded a fully funded research scholarship. All right. Then the other thing is this: if you don't know the companies that are practicing what you are studying, you will very easily lose self-confidence in your study. And you may not be able to take that study very seriously because your drive will be weak. You don't know where this is going to be applied. You don't even know whether this is applicable anywhere. You don't even know whether this is useful anywhere. And that's why some people, for instance, don't take mathematics seriously because they feel like, oh, these things are just, all of these are just abstract. There's nothing to be applied here. But if you know that mathematics, many of the topics you have in maths can be applied in the industry, then it kind of gives you some additional courage, some additional motivation, some additional push, and then you're able to take that course seriously. You may also you may even find that when you know the companies that practice what you are studying, you may have a bigger push towards the first class than somebody who doesn't have that idea, because some of the top companies want to hire the best people, and their pay, of course, would usually be in the top percentage of the industry. So get to know the companies that are doing what you are doing. Take this as an assignment from me. Find out the top 10 companies that are practicing what you are studying. Find out at least 10 people that work in those top 10 companies. Reach out to those 10 people on LinkedIn and ask them questions about how to get into that company and what kind of skills are required in the company. I hope this was helpful, and there are actually more reasons to do this. Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. Follow us for more. Bye-bye for now.